four statewide candidates to introduce. The first up is Steve Welch. Steve is from Chester County, and he's going to be our next United States Senator. Let's hear it for Steve Welch right now.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for all of your support of you and your colleagues. I am new to politics, and I will tell you, I have learned that the most thankless job in all of politics is being a county chair. It pays nothing, and everybody is mad at you at all times. So, to our chairman here, thank you for everything you do, Ethan. Yeah, I think we need to go. This is a big event. We need a round of applause. So, as I say, my background is different. In fact, the press has referred to me as the nerdiest of candidates in this race. That's because they don't know what to do. I'm an engineer by training. They don't know what to do with a non-lawyer running for the United States Senate. I'll tell you, I went to Penn State. I graduated from Penn State with a mechanical engineering degree. Started a company a couple years out of school in Chester County called Mitos. And we manufacture the back-end systems that are used to manufacture a lot of vaccines and biological drugs that are in the marketplace today. And I will tell you, at 23, I was pretty naive. I went to banks to try to borrow money. And I'll tell you a little story. Back then, this was a decade ago, banks didn't lend money to entrepreneurs with an idea on a napkin. They certainly didn't then, they don't now. But I bootstrapped that. And over a decade, turned it into a global company. After selling it, I wanted to help others do what I've done. I will tell you, I am at heart, I'm a problem solver. I love seeing the need in the marketplace, building a solution for that need. So I started a company called Dream Ventures. And the concept behind Dreaming was to help entrepreneurs take an idea on a napkin in a very short, intense period of time, turn that idea into a viable business. In the last 4 years, we've turned out 64 companies from that program. And featured Forbes, Wall Street Journal as a new model for American innovation. And I can tell you something has drastically changed in this country just in the last decade. We have a government whose hidden tax and regulation is making it harder and harder for businesses to get up and off the ground. While at the same time, they are piling mountains of debt on every man, woman, and child. And as a father of 3 young children, I cannot sit around and watch us go down this path. And we have a unique opportunity here in Pennsylvania. We have an opportunity to end the Obama presidency. The numbers just don't work out. We beat him here, his presidency is done. We have an opportunity here to take control of the United States Senate. And in this race, trust me, there is going to be a stark contrast between myself and Bob Casey. Bob Casey, I'll tell you, what we're going to talk about is a lot of the things that Governor Romney talked about. We're going to talk about empowering the American entrepreneurial spirit, empowering people to use their God-given talents and creativity to create products and services that people need. And we all know that raises the standard of living of all Americans. And we're going to contrast that with the Obama-Casey agenda, an agenda that is based purely on on a top-down approach. An approach, this idea of a one-size-fits-all top-down government approach. An approach that has failed throughout time, it has failed throughout geography. We're going to talk about being the next generation, to hand over America in better shape than we found it. Something that every generation before us has done. And we're going to contrast that with the Obama-Casey agenda that I believe is based purely on selfishness. There's not another word for it. You know, when you look back at Bob Casey in 2006, it's actually quite comical now. He ran talking about balancing the budget. He ran talking about being fiscally responsible. He ran claiming he was going to be an independent voice for the people of Pennsylvania. This is a guy that has voted with President Obama 98% of the time. That is really hard to do. And for those of you that are here with your spouses tonight, I challenge you over the next week, start keeping track of how often you agree or disagree with your spouse. And I suspect many of you may disagree with your spouse more than 2% of the time. Of course, I agree with my spouse 100% of the time, so that's crystal clear. So I'm not going to let Bob Casey get away with claiming he's an independent voice. He is nothing more than a rubber stamp for Barack Obama and his big government agenda. You know, in this race, he's going to try to run on who he's not. And in his defense, I don't blame him. He doesn't have much of a choice. But I'm going to run on who I am. And from the start, I've been out front with the voters across the state and in this room about my partisan past. And I think we need leaders that are up front and lead by telling the truth. And as you all know, probably I'm being attacked right now by another member in this race. I'm being attacked by a gentleman that literally has never voted in a Republican primary. I'm being attacked by a gentleman in this primary that has been a Democrat for 42 years. I'm being attacked by a gentleman that has been a Democratic elected official in the 70s, 80s, and as recently as 2010. So let me make sure we're crystal clear on this issue. I voted for John McCain for President of the United States. Okay? Please tell your friends. But I think it is important that we acknowledge that past. I think it's important that we acknowledge that in the early part of this decade in Washington, in many ways we lost our way. We let spending grow out of control, we let earmarks run rampant, we let corruption filter through the system. And in this state, we lost hundreds of thousands of voters. And I was one of them. But when I saw the Obama, Casey, Reid, and Pelosi agenda, I came running back. Running back, committed to making sure that we never abandon our principles again. And I wasn't alone. 2010 gave rise to the great Tea Party movement. They helped us elect Pat Toomey, helped us elect Tom Corbett, helped us win up and down the ticket in 2010. And I am positive if we take that same fight, that same winning energy with us in 2012, we will install in the White House our values. We will install in a new Republican majority in the Senate our values of limited government, personal responsibility, fidelity to the Constitution, and family values. Second chances in life are a true blessing. In 2010, the voters gave us a second chance. And as your U.S. Senate nominee, I will travel every corner of this state to make sure we win back those voters that we lost in 2006 and 2008. I'm going to use my story, my personal story that we talked about, starting a business from scratch, my political story. And I'll tell you, there is growing concern. As you travel across the state, there is growing concern about the rise of China and India, the emerging markets. And I'll tell you, I read 1,000+ business plans a year. We are the most innovative society the world has ever seen. Nowhere else on earth is it even close. I've been at manufacturing plants on almost every continent. And I can tell you there is nowhere else in the world as productive as the United States. And as soon as we get this government out of our business, we will see this economy take off once again. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you between now and November 6th to make sure we get this country back on track. I cannot do it alone. No candidate up here can do it alone tonight. But what I assure you is, together, we can rebuild the Republican Party. We can bring people in. Together, we can win elections, but most importantly, we can win the hearts and the minds of the people of Pennsylvania on why our values matter and why they have made this the greatest country in the history of the world, and that is the only way policy is going to follow. Thank you and God bless.
Steve Welch, United States Senate. He's going to do a great job, isn't he?